J. Michael Collins from VO Atlanta, and I'm thrilled at all the great things VO Radio is doing. It's a great asset for our community, and I'm a proud listener and guest. Now, did you know that you don't have to go to VO Atlanta to be at VO Atlanta? As a special thank you to the VO Radio community, we're offering 25% off all the VO Atlanta content from each of the past 3 years. We're talking hundreds of hours of content from the top people in the industry, sharing all their insights into how to make your VO career more successful. It's the biggest conference in the industry on demand in HD high-quality video replay. Just go to voatlanta.me, that's voatlanta.me, and redeem code VOA-replay-25. That's all caps, VOA-replay-25. Enjoy the conference from the comfort of your own home and keep enjoying VO Radio like I do. Thanks again from me, CEO Anna Collins, and everybody at VO Atlanta.
Have you done it yet? Downloaded the new VO Radio app? If not, check out the new apps we created that are now for iPhone and Android.
I'm sorry, operator, I can't hear you. I'm trying to use the phone.
Now you can listen to VO Radio anytime, 24/7 worldwide on your phone.
Are you not entertained?
Download the new VO Radio app from our app section of the website.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Or click on the app link located on the player window, VO Radio apps. They're here for you. Download yours today.
Whether a beginner or veteran voice talent, there's something for everyone. This is VO Radio.
Welcome to Let's Talk VO, live here on VO Radio. Interact with us by texting 970-682-3424. That's 970-682-3424. Or use the Ask a Question button located on your radio player window. You can also email us using the icon on the apps. Now, it's time for Let's Talk VO on VO Radio.
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk VO. And I have the squeakiest tennis shoes on right now. I'm making a mental note not to wear these while I'm recording. They're so squeaky. It's hilarious. Joining me in the booth, live on air today, we've got Bev Standing and her features Inside the Booth. And we have Deb Monroe, better known as Chef Deb Monroe, and her feature is VO Recipes. Yeah. Again, I'm doing this top of mind
here. Got it.
And we have Dee Alvis and VO Horror Stories. That's his feature, really fun. Anthony Reese, Business Sense, and me, Stacey Barrow, Top of Mind is my feature, where I talk about what's top of mind for you as a new VO. And joining us today, we have the lovely Jody Krangle.
Oh, yeah.
Woohoo!
Jody in the house.
Jody in the house, yep, hanging out with us. And just like she's doing, you guys can do this anytime. You can call in, you can Zoom in, whatever you need to do to join us. We want you to be here so we can talk with you and talk about whatever you want to talk about. So different ways to reach us. There is the text that's very popular. You can text us at 970-682-3424. Again, that's 970-682-3424. Again, Zoom in, call in, ask the record a question button thingy. You can use that. There's also the email icon on the app, and you click on it and brings you to an envelope, and that makes an email. And you can also use ask@voradioonline.com. So, without further ado, I'd like to thank our sponsors. We've got the VoiceOver Extra, the VoiceOver Resource Guide, the VoiceOver Collective, and Nava. And I'm so excited to go to our first listener email, so let's go for it.
You're listening to VO Radio. The views, opinions, and insights shared are not necessarily those of other panelists, guests, and contributors on VO Radio and its broadcast programs. Advice, tips, opinions, and legal suggestions are based on industry experience of the individual co-host, panelist, guest, or contributor. These opinions and comments are not endorsed by or verified by VO Radio and its operators. Listener discretion is advised.
If you're like most voice talent today, you're wondering various things relating to your voiceover career. Well, VO Radio has your answers. Here's more questions answered by our panelists live on Let's Talk VO here on VO Radio.
Listen and learn.
Internet radio for the voice artist.
just like you. All righty, today's question, this is a good one. Kaylin from Kentucky, and she asks, can you share more about ways to sharpen our voice? Again, Kaylin from Kentucky, can you share more about ways to sharpen our voice? That's a good one. In a nutshell, I would say just keep training and keep getting to know the different registers of your voice and what you're capable of and what you have a difficult time with. And I will pass this question to you, Deb.
Well, there's lots of ways to sharpen your voice, so it just depends on what you mean. I'm assuming getting your voice ready. Everybody, depending on what you do, does different things. If you do video games, you're doing lots of yelling, attacks, lots of aggressive stuff that you really have to prepare for. But really, breathing techniques and vocal exercises are some of the best places to start, depending on where you're at, to just start training the muscles. Think of the body as just like what you do at the gym. When we go to the gym, we work on muscles, and then when we develop those muscles, it's easier to do. One of the things I find, even in narration, for example, is when you get long format narration, it can get quite boring after a while, especially corporate stuff, and our mouth gets tired. And so not only do we need to develop ourselves for breathing, but we also have to do the muscle development that allows us to articulate and get around these complicated words that a lot of writers put together that we would just wish they wouldn't. All the tongue twisters you have to say and everything else. So I think there's a lot to it as far as sharpening our voice. You're not asking about sharpening your skills to act or perform. You're saying the vocals. So I'm assuming we're talking the intrinsic part of our instrument that does really need a lot of development. Bev, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add to that from my perspective is trying to learn where your voice is coming from. So I was working with someone and they were always projecting and their voice was always high, and I was working with them to just try and find, how do you relax? How do you settle in? And it changed the tone of her voice. And so by learning that, then you know what it can and cannot do. And that's a basic for where you progress from there. But I honestly would like to send this to Jody, because Deb, like you, she's a singer. And so she's a little more aware than I am of how important your vocal and how you keep it sharp. Jody, can you unmute? And
sure.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I mean, it's knowing your instrument. So you need to know what that means to you. Like Deb, sharpen can mean a whole lot of things. So
Yes.
I wasn't quite sure what was meant by that.
Yeah.
But I will say, warming up first, making sure that you have a lot of water, that you are hydrated, and that you are aware of what your instrument can and can't do. And I love the idea of really paying attention to the muscle memory too, because as Deb said, it is very common for long form to be very tiring on your actual mouth and tongue and like everything that works to make that sound come out. So you have to be paying attention to that as well. Yeah, I would say warm up wise, I tend to sing to warm up.
Surprise.
And
Gold.
yeah, but you don't have to be
Me
a good
too.
singer. You don't have to be a good singer.
Right.
You could just like sing.
Right.
It's not about holding a note or being able to sing the song in the note that it was originally intended. It's
Right.
just about
auto-tune it
warming
later.
up.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny when we looked at this question that came in, we had to figure out
Right.
what exactly Kaylin was trying to say. And I think maybe what she was trying to get across to us was when I work with a lot of voiceover talent, beginners and advanced talent, I work with what I call the sharpest tool in the shed exercise. And I work with them on learning how to develop going instead of going, did you instead of did you with a J or G. So I think maybe what they're aiming for there is enunciation type of stuff for what she's thinking of. So you want to work on, like Deb hit really good a few minutes ago, enunciation exercises that are like sibilants and working with syllables, if you will. Instead of excellent, say excellent. Instead of did you with a G, or like I said, did you, and work with those things. A lot of people say picture and it's pick with a C, picture. So those small little things, believe it or not, Kaylin, right? Kaylin, are very important when you're auditioning out there. A lot of casting directors and voice directors that are experienced and veterans have trained years, and they will hear those lazy of the tongue. If you sound slurry or you don't sound articulate, clean, they will hear that stuff. So I would say just go find yourself a website or two with tongue twisters, exercise. I'm going to have to rethink that bid. Stacy knows what I'm talking about. She trained with me on that years ago too. So that'll help you get sharper and cleaner so that you become the sharpest tool in the shed, is kind of playing on that sharpening. What do you think, Dee?
Well, I think the big thing you got to do to sharpen your voice is 100 Marlboro Reds a day and polish it off with, some nice strong bourbon. No, it's really vocal health. Improving your voice is always key to this business, right? And so we do have singers in here. I happen to be one as well. And I find that's the best way to warm up. And as the day progresses, as you can probably hear right now, I'm struggling a little bit because it's been a busy day of recording and stuff. So I have my many, many things like my throat spray, which I don't see handy. I have this thing for my sinuses, which is very handy. Chapstick, because you don't want those. It helps with that mouth noise. But to kind of go back to what you were saying, Anthony, about diction and articulation, oftentimes you throw that out the window in certain genres. Because if you're going to speak perfectly clearly in most commercials these days, you are not going to book the gig.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You got to pay attention to the direction and what they're asking for. So
that's right.
In my experience, I found that I actually had to stop speaking as clearly as I used to because they don't want that's part of the conversational read that's so popular.
Right. And how I look at that is, and I think you nailed it on the head too, is there are, like I said, some casting directors and voice directors and content creators out there who want you to be able to be really clean, and then they'll say, give me a casual, loosened up, sloppied up read. And so if you can be as clean, it's easier to back down than it is to learn how to go back out the other direction. I believe that it's easier to push you down the hill than easier to push you up the hill. And I've run into projects like that. I'm sure Deb and others have that have been involved in projects where they want you to be really clean, articulate, because you're doing Arizona State or a university Ivy League project, or working for OSHA, or you're doing but then I get people like the DOD that I've done stuff with who want to be very much casual, inner urban sound. So they want you to sound more, if you will, I don't mean to sound weird, but non-educated sounding. So you're absolutely right on that comment.
I think there's a difference between sounding lazy and sounding comfortable or confident or conversational.
Yeah, that's right.
The diction is still important for that lip laziness that most of us have over years of not having to.
Nice.
I do want to just add that a cork is your best friend if you do want to work on exercising your instrument. It's just like at the gym, if your muscles if you don't feel some tension and some soreness in there without hurting yourself within reason, you're actually not working those muscles. So be prepared to actually have some soreness in your mouth when you're over exaggerate the tongue twisters, over exaggerate your jaw movement.
Yep.
And the cork you stick in your mouth about halfway, maybe a third of the way, just like Bev is right there. Thank you, Bev. Look at the lovely Vanna White. And you put the cork in your mouth, and then you slowly exaggerate.
That's right.
And I always say this, I want to hear every letter of every word. And then what happens is when you take it out, it does feel a little tension for those that do it right. And so that starts working out the muscles. And even us pros, if we're getting tongue tied, because there's a lot of bad writing out there that's just tongue twisted for us in our copy. And so if we're having a hard time getting around it, you pop it in your mouth, say those lines a couple times with the cork in your mouth, drop it out, and then you can usually get around it. So there's lots of little exercises.
Now, is it better to use one from a wine bottle? Or?
Always drink the wine first, unless you drink alcohol like me.
Can I just share one other tip? And that's something, because I put so much physicality into all the boring e-learning and stuff to do. If they want you to be articulate but don't want you to sound robotic, and you're struggling with that while you're reading the lines, if I want to speak like this, but I just push against the bottom of my jaw, I'm still being articulate, but I don't sound like I'm trying so hard. And it's kind of like you catch it and you go, oh yeah, okay, hold on. You don't
I
have
definitely
to.
do that with jaw placement for
Right.
like corporate reads and medical, where I tend to stick my jaw out further, which helps me with my diction. And I'm actually also kind of helps with mouth noise sometimes too, when you're doing long form stuff where you're going to build up more saliva in there. And, we can't eat 100 green apples a day. I mean,
No doubt. I lean on
No,
my
so-
jaw when I have to be more casual, because otherwise I'm going to be too articulate, too up.
Right. So in other words, it
That's
helps you
good.
keep the mouth somewhat closed, so not overly exaggerating the expressiveness of the sound or the syllable or whatever. I believe in that ramp up thing, and Stacey knows, having done my intermediate course, and other listeners out there know what I'm talking about. My paper 9 or paper 8, which is a good speech skill, sharpening the voice. We work on, I'm going to have to rethink that bit. And I teach them how to use the mechanics and over animate on purpose, and it helps them feel they've never paid attention to where their mouth goes to. And then nobody really thinks about it. They all kind of keep their mouth closed, and they're in the way of their own mouth, in the way of their voice. They can't really articulate as clean. But if you can exaggerate just a bit, I find that people say half instead of have. They say Anna instead of and arithmetic and things like that. So that is a really good question. She's offered a lot of advanced talent too, because there's a lot of advanced talent who haven't really trained and kept up sharp, and they get rusty and they get lazy sounding. And so definitely really strong, good, solid articulation is a very important part, I think.
I trained with a cork, and I still have that cork.
I've never heard
Oh my
that, so I'm going to
gosh.
steal that idea.
You know what? I think this is similar, and I guess the outcome would be like using a cork. But I learned sticking out my tongue, and then putting your top teeth on top of your tongue, like that, and then saying the line slowly. And it's amazing. The same sentence is just so much more clear if you've got a little troubled spot, and it's a great way to wake up that lazy back tongue muscle.
Hey, I'm going to tell
It's been
tell
great.
talent, put a cork in it already. Rim shot, please.
I
I'll
need
be
a
here all
cork.
week.
I'd end up swallowing the damn thing. So that's going to be my obituary. Oh, how did Dee die? Oh.
Stacey.
Oh my God.
Hey, Stacey, you want to
Okay.
take us out?
Yeah, I'm gonna take you guys out. All right.
Take us out, man.
Let's go for a break.
This week's Nava News Minute is brought to you by...
Hey there, VO radio listeners. It's D here, your friendly neighborhood tattoo VO. For those who don't know, I'm a voice actor and audio producer helping clients all over the world. If you need your message to stand out so that you can leave an indelible mark, reach out at tattoovo.com or search Tattoo VO on your favorite social media app and see why hundreds of clients in over 60 countries trust their brand at Tattoo VO. Till then, keep shining. Tattoo VO, lending a voice to those who demand to be heard.
Hey everybody, NAVA President Tim Friedlander here with your NAVA News Minute update. The SAG-AFTRA interactive strike is still making progress with AI protections in video games, and NAVA was excited to host a live town hall with some of the members of the Interactive Agreement Negotiating Committee. If you want to rewatch the town hall to learn more about the video game strike, you can do so on our website at navavoices.org under the Resources tab. NAVA debuted a new Best Practices for Kids in VO page this month, which includes resources for parents and a new contract writer just for minors. We are so excited to be a part of VO Atlanta this year, and we'll be hosting a special NAVA panel. Check out all the classes taught by our amazing board members, and visit us at our sponsor table all weekend long. We're also thrilled to announce that we awarded 5 VO Atlanta scholarships this year. Special thanks to Joe Zija and Jennifer Sunbell for donating 2 of those scholarships. And finally, we're continuing to make headway on AI legislation at the state and federal levels. Thank you to everyone for all your support. To find out more info on NAVA, visit our website at navavoices.org. Thanks a lot.
Somebody has to be the best in the business.
Elevate your voice with NAVA, the National Association of Voice Actors. As a nonprofit association, NAVA is dedicated to the advocacy and protection of all our voices and for championing the equitable advancement of the voice acting industry. Visit the website at navavoices.org today. NAVA, together they can protect the future of voice acting and make our voices heard.
It's officially fall, y'all, and that means the new fall-winter issue of the VoiceOver Resource Guide is out now. issue number 78. We've created a fully updated special video game strike edition of the Vorg for you. 3 pages dedicated to strike info. So get yours today at one of our pickup locations near you. Or head to thevorg.net. Get one shipped out, and we'll plant a tree when you do. How nice is that?
Your voiceover career is dynamic and moving fast, and market trends for voice actors are constantly changing. So having the right resources to stay on top of your game is critical to your success. That's why VO pros and newcomers alike rely on VoiceOverXtra.com daily as their one-stop resource for voiceover success. Cut through the social media noise and find the information you need fast at VoiceOverXtra.com. It's the right resource for you now.
Let's Talk VO Live on VO Radio. Interact with the show by texting 970-682-3424 or email your question to the show using the app email icon, radio player window, ask a question button, or send an email to ask@voradioonline.com. Let's Talk VO Live on VO Radio. It's here for you.
And we're back on Let's Talk VO here on VO Radio. Thanks for joining us once again, everybody. I'm D. Alvis, joined by my esteemed panel of awesome colleagues, Deb Monroe, Bev Standing, Stacey Barrow, Anthony Reese, and we may have a special guest. Either way, we already do have a special guest.
That's right.
Jody Kringle is here. So if our VIP guest, who might be indisposed because, again, it's VO. And sometimes if you got those golden handcuffs, you got to prioritize. And if, somebody called and said, hey, we got a big job for you, you didn't make the radio show. So it's understandable. It's going to happen from time to time.
Time zone change week, so who knows?
Yeah, we've sprung forward depending on where you live. Time differences, all these things, cosmic energies and Mercury in retrograde or what have you. So, but we're still here to have a good time with all of you. And also, if need be, we have a pinch hitter. Jody's here. So maybe we'll just put her through the ringer instead.
I think that
so
sounds
guys,
great,
you can
actually.
Also join us.
And I think actually, if you're okay with this, Dee and everybody, if Angela is running late, because we weren't notified she wasn't going to be able to make it, we can go ahead and have 2 VIPs. We'll go ahead and do Jody this break. Why not? This block. And then if Angela shows up, which I'm sure she's just running late or there's a time problem, we'll put her in the 3rd block. Why not? So let's go ahead and if you guys won, let's go ahead and start our put Jody in the hot seat, I guess is what I'm saying. Is that cool with everybody?
It goes from very important person to very important people.
Right.
Well said. All right, let's kick it in. Here we go.
This week's VIP guest interview is brought to you by...
I'm Stacey Barrow, and I'm the imaging voice here on VO Radio, as well as a feature contributor. My feature is Top of Mind, where I talk about what's top of mind for those who are new to VO. I do all different types of voiceover, and I'm also bilingual in English and Spanish. I truly love all things voiceover, and I definitely love to talk about it. So reach out to me anytime here at VO Radio Online, or you can also find me at voiceoversbystacy.com.
Thanks for listening to VO Radio, internet radio for the voiceover community. VO Radio takes you up close and personal with some of the leading experts, trainers, coaches, and gurus within the voiceover industry. Now it's time for this week's VIP guest here on Let's Talk Live and VO Radio.
All right. As you just heard Mr. D. Alvis talking about, it looks like our originally scheduled VIP guest hasn't showed up in the building. I think the limo's running late, so we're not really sure what's happening. But at this point, we had a fill-in step in at the last minute, and she joined us today out of surprise. Sometimes things are meant to be. You never know. This is
it's live radio. You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
One time Dave Grohl called me in the studio, and I wasn't expecting to talk to Dave Grohl, and I was like, well, this is a pleasant surprise. So it happens. So, Jody, you're our Dave Grohl today. Thank you.
Okay. I'm in good company.
We thank you for being part of it. So basically what we're going to start out with is I'm going to ask you a couple basic questions that everybody out there wants to hear about you. And then we'll pass around, let panelists all put you in the grinder seat. And especially Bev, who enticed you to come into this situation after all today. So
thank you, Bev.
So give us a little background on you, what started, how you came, where you came to this business from, where you grew up, and all that small jazz stuff.
Small jazz.
Yeah.
Well, I started voiceover in 2007. I'm in the Toronto, Canada area, and I came in, I did a little bit of work in the CNIB, which is the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, back in 95, 96. I was doing magazine articles onto reel-to-reel tape.
Oh yeah.
At the time.
Remember that.
And I loved both the voicing and the reel-to-reel. I actually was thrilled by the tech. So I kept that in the back of my mind. I had been doing SEO and internet marketing from 95 until 2007. Had a songwriting website called The Muse's Muse that I had a lot of promotion dealings with, and I was getting advertisers and all sorts of things, and it was kind of my baby for a long time. And then voiceover took over in 2007 after I got out of internet marketing and SEO because I was so bored.
Yeah.
Oh my God, was I bored?
I mean, codes aren't fun.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I don't know if any of you have had experiences in your career where there's just something that you've been doing for a very long period of time and you cannot do it for one moment longer.
Total burnout.
Yeah, you just hit your breaking point.
Yes. Yeah. So that was my breaking point with SEO and internet marketing. And I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But I had a lot of background in the internet. And so when I decided I was going to hang my shingle as a voice actor, I looked to the world. I didn't look to my backyard. So I went on to Julie Williams' message board back in 2008. And that's actually where I met Pat Sweeney. I never met him in person before that message board. So yeah, lots of heart to Pat Sweeney, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. Right. But yeah, so I just got started from there, and you know, I made all the classic mistakes when you get started. You know, I got a demo done by a demo mill. I got coached by having a CD and a booklet sent to me. This is like 2007. You know, all the classic stuff. Didn't think I needed coaching. I needed coaching.
Right. The biggest myth out there.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, exactly.
This business will humble you if you're not prepared.
Oh my God. So when I was on that message board and I had gotten those demos from the demo mill, I put them on there. I went, hey, isn't this great? And everyone was like, oh my God, get over yourself. You are awful. That was horrible. And I was heartbroken. And, you know, I went away and was, you know, butthurt for a while. But after that, I went and emailed the person who had been the most vocal about his criticisms and asked him what I could do. And he was a veteran actor, just actor. He was also a voice actor, but an actor from Chicago. His name is Lee Kane. He's still around. And he took me under his wing and we sent back and forth MP3s. And out of the goodness of his heart, with no money exchanged, he just helped me understand that this was actually acting.
Wow.
And yeah, so for about
Good
6
for
months, we worked together, and I had a few spots for a demo, a commercial demo, by the time we were done. And that's really what got me started.
That's very cool. Somebody writes this in during every one of our interviews, and it came in just now from Shane, actually. Shane said, I know you've asked this before, I'm going to ask it. What was your first gig? Can you remember your first role? Can you remember your first gig as a voice talent that made you feel like, maybe I actually can do this? What got you rolling?
Yeah, actually, I did a documentary off of voices.com very early on in my career with a company that I believe was in, where were they? Michigan. They were in Michigan. And it was a World War II documentary, and all about Amelia Earhart and where her plane might have gone down, and some old Kodachrome film that the fellow who was producing it, that his father had taken while he was stationed on a particular island. in the South Pacific. And it was really, really fascinating. And the interesting part of that was that not only did I get to do the documentary work, but as a singer, I had already put together a version of I'll Be Seeing You for another project. And we used that version of I'll Be Seeing You for the closing credits on the documentary.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was. So it was a really, really fulfilling and wonderful way to have a first career, like a first career voiceover. And
Right.
it just went from there.
Bev, why don't you take
It's
over? Got
amazing.
any questions you can share with us?
This one's more for the public. Just to give you a backstory, Jody was one of the first voice actors, maybe the second voice actor that I met ever. And have you ever suggested you might hit somebody over the head? That would be moi. Jody had became my best friend. We lived close to each other, and I kept calling myself a newbie. And one day she said, "I just want to cuff you up the side of the head. You're not new."
Right.
You never
Enough with the newbie comments. Yes.
comments. Yeah. So you're a singer.
Mhm.
So singing, we have talked about this in the past, singing helps you as a voice actor. But I want you to talk, if you would, please tell the people about how that led to your podcast.
Well, the singing didn't necessarily lead to the podcast, although I do kind of talk about music on the podcast as well. So that's definitely a part of it. What led to the podcast was the fact that I was being called last on a project on a pretty consistent basis. And it occurred to me that if people would pay a little more attention to the sound that they're putting on their project, it might have a lot more impact.
Yeah.
So I kind of decided, well, you know what? What is that really? What's the concept of that? And the concept, after much discussion with a business mastermind that I was a part of at the time, the podcast has been around since November of 2019. I decided that it was all about the power of sound and how it influences us. So what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to talk with the people who hired us, not other voice talent. I wanted to talk with creative directors and ad agencies and casting directors and people who do sync licensing and music and people who are into marketing and branding and talk about how sound has an aspect in that realm. And, neuromarketing, like talking about how the brain operates on ads, all of this kind of stuff, because I want those people to be able to go to their end client and say, look, this is why this is important. And we're a part of that as voice actors. So I wanted to raise all boats for all of us who work in sound.
Nice.
But, but I need to give them the information they need to prove to their clients why they should be thinking about this, not as the last thing that they think about, but as part of the actual project from the beginning.
Perfect.
Right.
And just to share that her Jody's podcast is audio branding,
Yeah.
right? The hidden gem of marketing, and it's great.
All
And,
over there.
award-winning,
Award-winning.
on VO Radio Online because it plays on Saturday. Deb,
awesome.
you know,
Yeah, I know Jody very well, and I've known Jody a long time, and I've been blessed enough to watch your success. I've known you since you were starting, really, as far as voice acting goes. I would love to talk about the background in SEO because I feel like, as much as you were excited to put it to rest, I think it was also probably such a gift. Like I would like to have half your brain because I don't want to learn all the tech. I really don't, but I know if I did, I could have done so much different things with my business in different ways. So I'm just wondering if we could maybe talk about that for talent. What would you recommend to them about SEO and that kind of stuff when they're starting based on what your experience was in that industry? Do you think that's important for them to consider? Where are we now? I know it's probably something you've been lucky enough to pull out of a bit of, but I also know you keep abreast and you're very intelligent in the technical aspects. So what kind of advice could you give us for that?
Well, it's a different market now than it was when I was first doing it, most definitely. And AI has a big handle on that part of things. So SEO is now going to ChatGPT. It's not necessarily all in the search engines. So my best advice to people starting out now is content, content, content.
Right.
Just make something, have a blog, do a podcast, go on other podcasts, talk about things, create content, make social media posts, add stuff to your website so that people can find you. And when I mention social media, I mention it almost as an afterthought because you don't want to build your castle on sand. And that social media can go away at any point. Right. You could get hacked. You could, the social media itself could go away. Less people could be checking it out. All sorts of things can happen. And that is not your platform. You don't own it. So own your website, put content on it, and it will be found. I mean, you need to promote it, definitely. But that like SEO isn't only keywords anymore. Like it's not just putting the right keywords on your website these days and writing a blog that has a whole bunch of great keywords in it. That might be part of it, but the content is really where you're going to shine. That's where that's going to come through.
And you have to be very crafty on how you put that content on, right? Like you have to be careful at the length, at when, time of day, all that kind of stuff is all still, very relevant in that regard.
Yeah, I might challenge that a little bit because I think content that has a point to it and a reason for being is just a really good thing to have on your website, no matter how long or short it is. So, if it's the difference between, I don't know exactly how long it should be for this search engine or, being found in ChatGPT or whatever. But you are going to put content on, and whatever size it is. If that's the difference between you doing it and not doing it, do it. And don't worry about how long or short it is. Just do it.
Right. Yeah. Hard enough.
Don't make it complicated. Yeah.
Good stuff for sure. Stacy, got anything you want to add to this?
I do. First of all, Angela did email me back, which is great. And she said, I'm so sorry. I was like triple booked and I can't wait to be on the show. So we'll schedule her for another day. But this worked out really great. And I want to say to those of you, I know, Jody, you're such a wonderful example for everybody out there. And if you can see us, the whole thing, I just want to say, one, your background is great, and it's just a representation of whenever you're doing something on Zoom or anything where people can see you, you want to be professional. You can be friendly and laid back, but professional. You've got this incredible background, and you yourself are just obviously completely presentable. And the way that you sound is just a great way that all of us should remember to emulate you, because you're explaining something, you're very personable, you can tell your intention, your inflection, the sincerity in your voice. You can tell when you're serious about something in a friendly way, and you can also tell when you're smiling, like the whole thing, and you're pacing. I just want to say you should go into voice acting. You're incredible.
Well, thank you.
Thought about it?
Thank you. Yeah, maybe I should think about that.
I don't know how you ended up here, but
Jody,
even win an award
Stacy
or
is
two.
taking on new clients if you need a new manager, because she's in the market for new clients.
Yeah, I'm in the market of making you new.
I almost got cheered up here a minute, Stacy.
Jody, what does your auditioning day look like? Do you do it a lot?
Came in, that's good.
Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, I tend to not let them wait because this is a full-time gig for me and I'm working, 9 to 5 or whatever I have to work. I just go right into the booth the minute that I get an audition, really. And I have it back to people usually within 15 minutes. And
1-5?
Yeah, 15 minutes. Okay. Yeah. So I have a way to do it. I have settings that George Whittam has given me. I do add a bit of processing onto my auditions. I don't when I'm working with a client. So I send the raw audio to the client, but I do like to put a little bit of processing, a little bit of a
so it pops more from the rest of the queue.
Yeah, just a little bit, because not that not that our clients don't have imaginations, but I don't want their brains to have to work too hard.
Nice.
But you would
You know,
warn
that's-
everybody that they should know
For the
what they're
hearers.
doing before they do such a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Less
Yes.
is more. Less is more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Piggyback on that thought, Stacy, because I don't know if you're going to ask this part B of that question is how many of those are private invitations to audition and public auditions, would you say? And do you prioritize those? We just did talk about that. the
Now,
other
when
night.
you say private and public, do you mean
Like private
agents
invites
or
from your own contact, your own
Like from
agents
agents
or
and
website.
contacts. Are you
okay,
on
because agent
sites?
invitations are a pretty regular thing, but when it comes to my regular clients, it's very rare that they'll send me an audition. They'll just say, "Give me this."
They'll hire you.
You
right at
know,
the gate.
Right.
they just
yeah.
hire me. Yeah, they just say, "Look, we need this done. When can you do it?"
Right.
So, yeah. So but there's a certain amount of new clients that come through on the website every once in a while. Or if I do an audition on, say, Bodalgo, and they'll come to me and ask maybe for a second reading or something like that, and that I'll give them an audition for that. So yeah, it really most of the auditions I do are for agents or for directories like Bodalgo.
Awesome.
Right on.
Okay.
Amazing stuff. I got to ask these couple of questions real quick. Who would you say is your biggest influence? If you were to pick out one person throughout the whole career, other than Bev Standing, who would you say has been your biggest?
That's a big influence.
who
Yes.
I know who gave you a push start and catapulted you into the business, and then taught you to be confident and show you what competence is as well. But who would you say along the way has been a lifelong mentor and influence?
Well, I mean, I would definitely say Lee Kane, who helped me out in the beginning there. He was instrumental. I don't think I'd have any kind of a career unless he decided to help me out, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I definitely credit my career to him, honestly. As far as other people, I was definitely inspired by Pat Sweeney right in the beginning, just because of his passion, his love for what we were
Inspire,
doing. And I never have done animation I've done a little tiny bit of animation, but it was not like what I was going after. It wasn't my thing. And I did one, and then I was like, nope, this is not for me. And so animation video games, like I don't really do that kind of work. And I know that was his passion, but he was also really great in medical narration. So, he had a lot of different sides to him. And I think that all of us can have different sides to what we do too.
Yeah.
You don't have to stick to a particular genre. I just happen to love what I've stuck to. And for me, it's mostly advertising and marketing and branding stuff, because I love to talk about it.
Yeah, it's in your blood, so to say. You got the bug
Yeah.
and that. D, I kind of jumped over you. What questions do you have, if anything?
I'm just enjoying the conversation, to be honest with you. And it's
It's
kind of like,
great.
I feel like that I was kind of going towards like, what do you prefer to be doing and what's your bread and butter? But you just answered that. So is there something out there, everybody's got, no matter how successful we are, right? Or when you're trying to build yourself into a successful business, has there been like a dream role or a dream company brand that you haven't gotten that you would aspire to do? Or
Well, I will say that one of the things that I'm putting out into the universe, and if you've been following my social media, you'll see this, I want to do more travel and tourism. So I would love to be the voice of an airline or a hotel chain, or a place, some kind of I did visit Orlando for about 3 years, maybe. I want to say 3 to 5 years, maybe something like that. I think it's been a while now. So like 5 to 7 years ago. My time sense is way off, but it's been
Are
a
you saying you
while.
lived in Orlando?
No. I did visit Orlando, which was their big
visit Orlando. Oh,
promo.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I did that actually through Eric Shepard. I was doing that for quite some
Okay.
time, and I loved it. It was so much fun, and I haven't really had anything like that since. And I would love to do stuff like that. I did a place called Devil's Thumb Ranch in Montana for a little while as well, which I loved. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of dude ranches back in the day. So those are blast because you have to go to the property and ride horses and hang out for a few days. Get the hang of the whole thing.
Yeah. I also did Visit Alberta for a particular campaign, and I loved that as well. So anything that I can do in travel and tourism, I am totally there.
Yeah,
awesome.
Because that's an interesting spin because you want to make those things welcoming. You want to entice people, and it's like a very unique genre within the niche of promotional, commercial, whatever. Or like you were saying, if you're just the voice at an airline or airports or hotels, it's because I think about that when I go. You travel to certain places and you hear something and you're like, that really can set the mood.
It totally can.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's probably something most people don't think about. So very cool. Stacy.
Is there a genre that just you don't like, you don't care to do it? It's very tedious for you. Like, what would it be?
I don't do long form narration. So I have actually cut out e-learning almost entirely.
Good to know.
Yeah, everything that I do is 5 minutes of finished audio or less. That is my wheelhouse, and that's what I prefer. I don't do a lot of medical narration for that reason, but occasionally I'll do something like that. I have one client here in Toronto that keeps hiring me for that, and I love them because they're a regular client, but they're the only ones that I do medical narration for anymore, and it's not a genre I'll go after. I love the medical commercials, though. Like, I love doing healthcare commercials, like the hospitals, and I've even done drug commercials.
I love the weird words.
Those are always
All the words.
Yeah. So I did Skyrizi for a little bit, and I did Kisqali for a little bit.
If I hear that jingle one more time, I hear this. Out of my mind.
Yeah, but isn't it memorable?
Right.
Yeah, jingles are coming back.
Did it work? Hey, absolutely. We're wrapping up. I can't tell you how much we appreciate Jody being part of the show today because of Angela not being able to pull in.
Thanks for having me.
Let's ask one final question. I already got an email and I get people asking for everybody to bring in. Is there one thing about you that people don't typically know? What would you share as one thing that a lot of people don't know that you do or what you're into outside of VO business?
Oh my goodness. And I was just on a podcast earlier today and they asked me the same question and I'm going to answer the same thing. So I play D&D. I play Dungeons and Dragons, and on a fairly regular basis. I think I have like 3 or 4 regular, 3 or 4 remote and 1 actually in person on Sundays every once in a while. So I have the hugest collection of dice that anyone has ever had. I have a tackle box next to my desk here, and there's dice spread all over my office in little nooks and crannies, and they're all beautiful, and I love them, and they're my jewels.
You think it fit into Uncle Roy's Pez dispensers.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, yes.
Oh my gosh, that is so random and cool.
That is well, we asked for it. There you go. So there you go, Mike. I know you asked us, I think last time when we had
decided day.
Rob Flatworthy on, he asked the same thing. So, hey, we're going to wrap up this block. Thanks to Jody Kringle. People want to reach out to you. What's the best way to find you out there on the world, so to say?
Well, my website is voiceoversandvocals.com. So you can just reach out to me there.
Absolutely. And don't forget about the audio branding podcast, not only on her podcast resources and all the branding and all that stuff that she's out there everywhere on, but you can catch it here on the Power Weekends podcast, Power Weekends here on VO Radio Saturday and Sunday. And hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hang with us.
This week's Events and Happenings is brought to you by
the darkest hour when the night unfolds. I'm a lioness ready to take control.
Hi, I'm Bev Standing, a voice actor in Canada, and I started my journey in the VO world in 2008 and have not looked back.
No one can hold me back.
If you want to talk to me personally about coaching, just message me at bev@bevstanding.com, or you can contact me through my website, bevstanding.com.
No second guessing.
Hey, y'all.
This is Ali, chef with Events and Happenings, Audio Publishers Association 2025 in New York, March 2nd and 3rd. Go to audiopub.org and go to APA-conference for more information. VO Atlanta, the voiceover conference that is the world's largest and longest running voiceover conference, will be happening March 20th through 23rd at the Hilton Atlanta Airport. Go to voatlanta.me to learn more. Also, if you want to go somewhere pretty cool, get mic'd. Well, they've got their Ultimate VO Survivor Weekend Retreat, and that will be June 27th through June 30th. It is an opportunity for workshops, panels, team building, risk-taking, awakening, adventure, pool, spa, fire pit, karaoke games. It is a lot of fun. It's a retreat, and I highly recommend it. And as always, folks, if you have an event or you have a happening that you would like us to announce and share with the VO radio community, please reach out to us. Have a great day.
What's your daily ritual? How many auditions do you do a day? What's your audition success rate? Are you ready to give it your all, or do you sit back and just wait for the phone to ring? VO Radio wants to know what a day in your life is like. Recommended by one of our listeners, Tanya, we'd like to hear your own story in your own words. Tell us about the day in your life as a voiceover talent or voice actor. Simply go to the listener section of our website, click on the Day in the Life area, fill out the form, record a 4 to 5 minute story about the day in your life, and submit it to us at VO Radio. We'll add it to our new feature called Day in a Life. What's the day in your life like as a voiceover talent? We want to know. VO Radio. Listen, learn, and succeed.
Let's Talk VO Live on VO Radio. Interact with the show by texting 970-682-3424 or email your question to the show using the app email icon, radio player window, ask a question button, or send an email to ask@voradioonline.com. Let's Talk VO Live on VO Radio. It's here for you.
Hey everybody, we're back, and I was going to tell you what phone number and email to send in your text, and you just heard it from our lovely Stacy, our ID. So I'm going to ask Anthony, we love your questions, so please keep sending them in. We're going to listen to one, I think, right now, Anthony?
If you're like most voice talent today, you're wondering various things relating to your voiceover career. Well, VO Radio has your answers. Here's more questions answered by our panelists live on Let's Talk VO here on VO Radio.
Listen and learn. Internet radio for the voice artist, just like you.
And I'll quickly jump in and say, Simi just wrote in and asked, did I miss the Who's That Voice? No, actually, it's coming up in just a few minutes. So good timing. I had to work late. Sorry, I love to listen from the show from the beginning. I'm sorry I came in. No, don't be sorry at all. At least you're listening. And the reality is, you can hear the encore tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern time with the whole entire show, darling. So you're
you would have known that Who's That Voice was coming had I said it when I did the introduction like I was supposed to. But I didn't. I was going to make it like the last thought.
That's how much they care.
Hey, I'm telling you.
Guys, so here comes the question. This is from Steve in Montana, I believe, MT.
Mm-hmm.
And what an appropriate question for me to ask just before the Who's Your Voice contest. Are more mature voices still really used? Well, let me tell you. I'm going to answer that with a very simple yes. And I'm finding they have gone from making them really young to being very much more inclusive. They want young right up until, I see things that going anywhere from 25 to 70. It's like, oh, okay. So there's still use for these more mature voices. Dee, what do you think?
You just think about what you hear if you watch TV, streaming, listen to the radio.
Mm-hmm.
If it's about time to get yourself a colonoscopy, if you're at that age, you don't want some young Nickelodeon sounding person selling that to you, hey, go poop in this box because it'll be cool. No. You want to believe the authenticity of somebody that is of your
McCoy.
age,
Right.
right? So the voice print being more mature, I've seen an uptick in like, because I fall in that middle, like I occasionally will book those. I'm 46. I don't know if that's mature or not because I'm five in my heart. So as we all know, but I really feel like Bev said, there's been an uptick, and I think the shifts in the industry will always dictate this or that. But I would say overall, mature voices are never going to go out of style.
No
Because
way.
even look at a lot of car commercials and things like that, even luxury brands, even
Right.
stuff like Jody was talking about with travel and stuff, like you don't
lot of
want to hear a 20-something talking about this, I mean, I'm talking about from the buyer's perspective when they're trying to sell a product or a service. That's how the authenticity is brought in, right? You want to have somebody that has that age, experience, wisdom, if you will. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents.
Definitely agree. But bouncing off that, Bev, you're absolutely right. And you're mature because you're 52 now, right, Bev? So you're entering that golden age. But the reality is, as are we all. Look at this gray hair. But the reality is who's it? Steve, right? Steve. Think about it. Right? Think about this. Viking Cruise Line, Viking, right? What is it, right? Princess, right? Oceania. Those are travel stuff that Jody can relate to maybe. Think about the medical stuff, like Dee was saying. Think about the villages. Think about retirement communities. Think about a lot of the medical commercials that are running are for seniors. Think about reverse mortgages, retirement funding and stuff like that. Are you ready to retire type of commercials, accounting commercials? You can think about all those collectively. When you flip through Sling or Comcast or Cox or whatever you have, you're going to start to notice, if you really keep track of it, how many of them are geared 55 plus. So that means that they don't want, like Dee was saying, they don't want a 25, 30-year-old selling to a 50, 60-year-old, 70-year-old grandparent. They want the real mature person that they can relate to. And so I see and I hear a lot of market for that. The beauty of it is, going back to you, Steve, is I don't know what age you're at. I'm guessing you're maybe in the senior range, is there is not as much competition in the voiceover world. Not a lot of people that aren't necessarily union, that are non-union at that age demographically have their own recordings to do at home. So there is a very small market. Leslie Thompson, who was a listener for quite a while and used to be involved in the show here at VO Radio, I trained her and helped to develop some e-learning because she was being packaged and branded completely wrong. So I helped her rebrand herself to be mature branding, harness her e-learning and her education retirement background and her 65 plus, she's like 74 demographic. And that is what I would recommend to people. Don't be afraid to actually brand and create your image as a golden voice, if you will. That's definitely a niche image these days. So
I just wanted to say, Deb, do you have something to say? I know both you and Stacy have hard outs, work calls. So
yeah, you betcha. Thank you. I think I am a mature voice. So yeah, definitely working lots. What I think as well is to understand that there was a word used, I think Dee used the word experience. The thing about a mature voice is it sounds experienced. So there's a ton of types of projects besides the commercial world, besides the medical narration corporation, video games, animations need the seniors and witches and all sorts of really fun characters that are really playful in the senior realm. And documentaries are more suited to mature voices than they are to young voices. So I think there's a lot of room. And where else, what other industry, I'll repeat this many times, what other industry do you know where people that are at the senior age right now, I say to them, when are you retiring? And they say, why? Why retire?
Why ever?
So
right?
yeah, and we're going to be wanting that work. So you better catch up to us.
Nice.
Thank you, Deb.
I got to hurry out though. Bye everybody. Take care.
All right, Deb, take care.
Thank you, Deb.
Stacy, do you have time to just chime in there?
Yeah, and you know what? It's so great. It's a state of mind to be a mature voice. Also, I'm like kind of in the middle. I could go either way. I could go somewhat younger. I can go older, and I love the presence of mind that. Yeah, sometimes people are asking for authoritative or confident or trustworthy, or again, like a medical thing. Yeah, if you're going for that colonoscopy, that whatever you're doing, that you want someone who's warm and friendly and who's going to tell you about something that they know what they're talking about. and so I've really learned to tap into that lower register for that. And then for fun stuff, there's always a female detective, that's
right.
Knows what's going on, and hey, pass me that, Sam, and whatever. So those video games and things like that, there's just a market for everything, and definitely for that mature voice.
Definitely.
Jody, do you have anything to add to that? We're getting close to the time, but we'd love to hear your thoughts.
I just think that the advertisers are starting to get to the point where they're now actually thinking about the people who have money to spend.
Nice.
And it's not, I hate to say it, but it's not with the younger set. Right. As much as I wish that actually was not the case, it unfortunately has come about that most of the money out there right now is with, Gen X and boomers. So, the advertisers want people who have money, and
Well said.
that's who they're going to have doing the ads, because that relates to the people who are spending that money.
Right.
So, but I think it's recent. And Jay Michael was talking about this just recently. He's talked about it in a number of places, but Mark Scott, I think on his podcast, he mentioned it there. There's a lot more in the commercial market that has to do with confidence and owning it.
That's right.
And younger voices don't tend to have the gravitas, the authority to have that kind of, well, okay, it depends. It depends on the type of product. Like if you're talking about beer, you can definitely, a younger set could definitely say, well, this is what I'm buying and I don't care what you think. This is me, you do you, right? But it's all about ownership. It's all about understanding what you're bringing to the table. And I think that can happen at any age.
Nice. Good
Right
stuff.
on.
What do you think,
We're
Bev?
gonna
You
be
want to go
right
for
back
the
with
Who's That Voice?
final contest of the day. Right after this, where we're going
No,
to.
we don't need to take a break. Let's go for it if you're ready. Let's go ahead and go right into it. You want to do that?
Yes.
Because I know we're running a little bit long. So, all right, let's go for that. Who's That Voice? Here we go.
This week's Who's That Voice is sponsored by
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, seriously far, like out of this world far, there were two beautiful storytellers on a quest to change the vibration of the planet. With the mic as their weapon, they set forth into the forgotten wasteland of lost celebration, taking on talent big and small to inspire the world. Empower and prepare yourselves for a different kind of vocal training experience. The Get Mike Team. GetMiked.com.
Who's that voice?
I beg your pardon.
Do you have a knack for knowing a voice? Can you recognize a voice with your eyes closed?
Oh, I just rescued a tiger.
VO Radio wants to give you a chance to win free coaching, online courses, and other great stuff.
Greetings, Earthlings.
Listen to Let's Talk VO and VO2B for the weekly voice of the day.
There's a secret mission.
Then fill out the Who's That Voice contest entry, and you'll be added into our weekly drawing on the Let's Talk VO Live the following Monday.
I think that I've lived like 3 lives.
Now let's test your ability to recognize a voice with this week's Who's That Voice?
All right, so since our own Deb Moreau had to bug out, let's hand it back to you, Bev. You want to run with this and open it up and tell them what they need to do?
Absolutely. Well, you just heard, you go to the website, you go to listeners, you go to contest, and you answer the questions as to who the voice is you're about to hear. And if we're going to play it Monday, Wednesday, and then next Monday, we're going to pick our winner. I'm looking out the window. Our winner. And the prize this week is a digital webinar download from VoiceOver Extra from John Florian, who's absolutely brilliant.
Nice.
So yeah, so you definitely want to have a listen, and just if you're wrong, you don't win. If you're right, you will. So submit. Let's hear that voice.
All right, get your ears on. Here we go.
But I knew how to keep the bosses happy. Whenever they gave me little jobs to do, to send a message, I would carry things out to a T.
Oh, man. That should be an easy one, like I said the other day, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah, VO Radio Online, go to the listeners contest section. And now we're going to go to a break.
This week's TNVO News Minute is brought to you by
Street Smart Coaching.
That's what you get at VO 101.
Hi, I'm Anthony Reese, 35-year veteran, casting director, producer, and voiceover coach here at VO 101.
Whether a beginner or veteran voice talent,
You'll find everything you need to get your career started or take your career to the next level. Training, website design, YouTube channel creation, voiceover demos, video demos, a free evaluation, and even a free training area.
get Street Smart Coaching at VO 101.
That's vo101.com.
VO101.com.
This is Christy Bowen with the Tennessee VoiceOver Studios News Minute. As we welcome in a new year, the big news dominating the voiceover industry are the LA fires and the amazing relief efforts by our community. The NAVA Foundation has set up a CAL FIRE Relief Fund that is collecting donations to help those in need. Other groups from around the country have also set up equipment donation drives, offered discounted or free recording spaces, and so much more. Please help if you can. Voice actors are sounding the alarm that a site called 101 Soundboards is using unauthorized AI versions of their voices without consent, compensation, or control. This egregious behavior underscores the need for federal protections of our voices. NAVA, the National Association of Voice Actors, is working on the issue on behalf of our industry. VO Atlanta has released the schedule for the March 20th through 23rd conference taking place at the Hilton Atlanta Airport again this year. As of January 18th, small group X sessions will also be available for purchase. This year's keynote speaker is Amari Williams. This has been your VO Radio Online News Minute brought to you by Tennessee VoiceOver Studios. To find out more about classes, demo production, and private coaching, visit our website, tnvoiceoverstudios.com.
It has been said that all the world is a stage. Like characters in a movie, game, play, or cartoon, we all have a backstory. And VO Radio wants to hear yours. Every Monday, VO Radio wants to listen to your story on Let's Talk VO. Simply go to the What's Your Story section of our website, fill out the form, tell us your story, and if selected, you'll be interviewed live on Let's Talk VO here on VO Radio. What's your story? Tell us yours. What's your story? We want to know. VO Radio. It's here for you.
Let's Talk VO Live on VO Radio. Interact with the show by texting 97068 or email your question to the show using the app email icon, radio player window, ask a question button, or send an email to ask@voradioonline.com. Let's Talk VO Live on VO Radio. It's here for you.
All right. Well, thanks for listening in again today to our Let's Talk VO here at VO Radio. We want to thank our very special VIP on the spur of the moment guest, Jody Kringle. She was kind enough to sit in because Angela couldn't make it. We're going to bring Angela Oldfast back as soon as possible. She had a conflict in her studio, so it didn't work out, but we are going to bring her back in for sure. We were excited about having her in. So Jody, thanks for being part of our little get together today.
My absolute pleasure.
Hey, don't forget, speaking of Jody Kringle, you can check out the audio branding podcast on the Power Weekend podcast lineup here. For more information, go to the website, check out the podcast section. You'll see about Jody, Mark, and Mark Grawl, and I can't believe how many people are on the Deb Moreau. We got like 12, I think, now podcasters, and we're adding 4 more pretty soon here that have just signed up too. So our own Jim Cooper, some others are coming on board. So it's really doing well. Make sure to check that section out. And as you heard, quickly to wrap up, we want your story. We want your story. What's your story is a segment, as you heard, that we're running here, and we need stories. We want to get back to those starting in April every Monday, promoting and sharing your story. So if you want to share your story as a voiceover talent, a sound producer, an audio engineer, a videographer, anything relevant, casting, anything relevant to the industry, even agency stuff, we want to hear your story. So go check that out, the website for sure. Anyways, with that said, let's go around the horn and do a final thoughts like we do with start with our guest, Jody Kringle.
Don't skip the commercials.
Well said.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people pay extra to have the commercials taken out on YouTube or on, all sorts of different places. Don't skip them. Don't spend that extra coin. Actually use it, and it'll help you in your own reads.
And it'll help you gauge what other people that are getting the gigs are doing that might make you go, oh, okay, maybe I should be doing more of that or more of this or whatever. Great point.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Even with DVR, I do the same thing. My wife goes crazy. She's like, really? And I'm like, we have to watch and listen
You
to the
gotta
commercials.
be
because
there.
of
You
my
gotta
job.
see what's trending. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I get excited now. I wasn't one of those people that liked the Super Bowl for the commercials. I always liked football. But now, since being a voice actor, I'm actually now one of those people who's like, the commercials are on. I must listen to what booked.
Right, for sure. Well, let's go with you, D. What's your final thoughts today? D, Elvis.
I was just thinking about, what you were saying too about, sharing your story or what's your story. Guys and gals out there, it's very tough in this business to stand out. A great way to stand out is truly build connections with people. And one way to build those connections is by keeping yourself open and opening yourself up, sharing with others, on social media, whatever you do, be authentic, be you. They're not just hiring a voice, they're hiring a human being.
Right.
So once they get to know you, maybe they'll understand why they should hire you over somebody else. So just stay positive and keep shining.
Nice. Hey, listen, by the way, quickly, I know you're going to be at VO Atlanta. Have you packed? Are you ready to go? What's going on with you in that situation there?
I am going to be there. I'll get there Thursday afternoon, the 20th. I just found out my reps are having a little party thing the night before, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to be there till the 20th. So I was like, I'll just have to catch you guys at different points throughout the weekend. But yeah, very excited to be going back to VO Atlanta and presenting for Vanquishing Obstacles, Voice Actors with Disabilities, with a wonderful panel of folks. So I'm super stoked. I'm hoping it's not going to be cold and rainy this year because I'm in Tampa. It's gotten chilly this week. And I was hoping to get warmer weather in Atlanta.
Right. Good luck with that. Probably rainy down there this time of year. Bev Standing.
It'll never rain on our parade.
Final thoughts, Bev.
My final thought for today is remember when you're seen, they are looking. So a perfect example is Jody Krangle. I asked her last minute if she was available for today, just to join us. She wasn't supposed to be the VIP, but you are always a VIP.
Absolutely.
So, but take a look at her backdrop. She is as professional as they can be. So remember when you're posting on social media, as Jody said earlier, talking about, put stuff out there. Be careful what you put out there. Be of the mind that the person that's hiring you is seeing that.
Nice.
So just remember that.
Very good. Yeah, it's about not only first impressions, but being presented as a professional. If you're seen an amateur, they're going to treat you as an amateur, right? So the reality is your presentation and your image and your branding, all that should all be that of a professional. Doesn't mean you have to be in a $50,000 Mark Grau type of studio environment, but you have to definitely do exactly what Bev's talking about. It's all about creating the hype in the biz, and what this is all about is creating a professional reputation as it carries forward with you. So hey, let's wrap things up. I'll go for an hour if not. Thanks for listening to this installment of Let's Talk VO. You can check us out, of course, next Monday and Wednesday, and then our Tubi will be back on Friday. We're not going to have a Tubi this Friday because I unfortunately have to fly out of town, but we're going to be back live with our show on Monday and Wednesday, and then Tubi on Friday. And make sure to check out the Encore tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And also the Power Weekends coming up this weekend, all day Saturday and Sunday. So make sure to check those out too. A lot of good things coming up pretty soon. You'll hear more about very soon, especially some potential surprises around the VO Atlanta time. So, hey, thanks for listening in. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to VO Radio and Let's Talk VO. Now we will return you to programming already in progress.